One day the cops kicked in my door.
No way, dude.
They gave me 15 months in federal prison. So now here I'm a millionaire, I'm married, and I'm about to go back to federal prison.
Ryan Stewman.
Ryan Stewman.
The hardcore closer, Ryan Stewman. Welcome to the show.
Take us back. What was your childhood like?
When I was young, my parents divorced. My father left, he never came back. I ended up getting adopted by my stepdad, and his answer for everything was violence, right? And so I started selling drugs. By the time I'm 20, I got to go do 2 years in prison for this $200 worth of coke. I'm like 120 pounds, and I'm chained to a dude that's been hustling on the streets, lifting weights, going back to prison again.
No way.
Dude, it traumatizing. I decided that life wasn't for me, so when I got out, I became a good car wash person. And one of the customers at the car wash came in, she goes, I do mortgages. I'd like to give you a job. I'm like, what's a mortgage? It would take me 6 months to make $6,800 at the car wash. I ended up making $6,800 on that deal, dude, and it was like crack.
How did the ball start getting rolling for you as an entrepreneur?
I built digital product, and now I had something that I could sell and leverage my time, and started teaching what I was doing in social media via videos and people logging in, which we still do today.
When you find out that your wife leaves you, what did that feel like?
She left me for one of the landscapers. The number one cause of divorce is success. Even now I get emotional about it, but when I'm gone, I want them to say, this guy created a movement that's gone on to change billions of lives and continues to live on forever.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Passionate Few podcast. It's your host, Omar, and today we have an epic interview as we sit down with eight-figure entrepreneur, the CEO of Phone Sites, none other than my good friend, Ryan Stewman. Thanks so much for being on the show today, Ray.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I know it's been a couple years coming. We've been trying to do this.
Yeah, we have for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We did a live back, I think, during the pandemic. We did like a YouTube or a Facebook or Instagram live or something like that.
Yes.
And we made the promise, hey, let's do something together. And then what happens to people with ADD, I don't know if you have it, but I have it.
Definitely.
But what happens if it's not in front of us and we're not focused on it, we forget about it.
Absolutely, man.
It's that simple.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad we made it happen here and stoked to tell your story because a lot of people don't know, you might run this eight-figure business now, help entrepreneurs at the 7, 8, 9-figure level maximize and grow. But taking us back a couple years, a lot of people might not know that you actually did time, were incarcerated, and went through some really challenging times. So before we get into your epic sort of success story, take us back to the Ryan Stewman. Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like? And how did the ball start getting rolling for you as an entrepreneur early on?
Yeah, I have a slippery slope of a story, Omar. Mm-hmm. When I was young, let's say before 5 years old, my mother and father were married, and my grandparents on both sides, my father's grandfather and my mother's grandfather, were both entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And money was in the 80s. Like the 80s was like just a couple years ago was. Mm-hmm. If you bought something, it was worth more money immediately. You could flip watches, cars, all that. The 80s were like that because of high interest rates. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents both did really well. And then when the S&Ls crashed, the savings and loans crashed, they lost their business. And it caused divorce, not caused, but as a result of that, my parents divorced too. My grandparents' businesses crashed, and my father left. He never came back. My mother remarried. I ended up getting adopted by my stepdad, who I'm this entrepreneurial-minded ADHD, and he's a very stern, stick-in-the-mud type of person, and his answer for everything was violence, right? So I grew up in a home where I lost my father, and watched my family's entrepreneurial dreams collapse. And they weren't rich. Mm-hmm. We lived in a town of 1,500 people, but they were 1,500 town people rich.
Where'd you grow up?
Leonard, Texas. Mm-hmm. And my grandpa he owned the bank there. It was a little small savings and loans for the local people, and he had like 5 or 6 small cities like that he had banks in. And so I learned the lesson at a young age, ingrained, even at the time you don't realize it, but our brain remembers everything. I learned the lesson that, easy come, easy go. And one day it can all disappear, including your father, your relationships, your business. I learned that, bam. But by the time a person is 7 years old, their brain is still absorbing everything. They're trying to figure out everything. They're trying to get logic. And man, that was just a tough age for me to have to go through that traumatic moment. Then being adopted, changing my identity. I was born Ryan Russell McCord, and now I'm Ryan Keith Stewman. So my identity of who I was changed. I got to go to school now, and the kids are like, "Oh, your dad left you, and you got a different name," because times were different. back then. You know, if you make fun of a kid and said something like that now, you'd probably go to jail. I don't know. But when I was a kid, you just got picked on. That was just part of being a kid. And so lose my identity, my family, my father. And, you know, what happens next? Start smoking cigarettes, then drugs. And then I realized that drugs weren't really my thing, but it was a lot of other people's things, and I could sell them. And so I started selling drugs.
What kind of drugs were you doing and selling?
Originally weed, and then it went to coke, then it went to meth, and then it went to, you know, LSD and meth and coke and weed, whatever, right? I never sold heroin. And I never sold crack. The ecstasy wasn't really a thing back then, so I didn't really sell it. But pretty much everything else. And I was just flipping, just like my opportunities because what I left out was my mom and dad split up, we moved to the city, right? We left the country, we moved to the city, so we're in Dallas area now, in one of the suburbs of Dallas. And so, you know, different experience. Then we ended up living in a city called Allen, Texas, which was probably 15,000 people at that time. It's a big city now, but it was small back then. And you know, I'm there. It's like a different influence. So I realized that the kids are all wanting drugs. I can get them from the adults because I've always had a job. Ever since I was 13, I've had a job where I had my own money, you know, and I would walk to work and things like that.
So you were always like a hustler trying to make money. Yeah.
And, you know, nowadays my kids, they can see how to make money on YouTube. They can learn how to get an e-com business. People in my neighborhood sold drugs. You know, I lived in a lower class neighborhood, and the guys that had the nicest shit were drug dealers. And so... seemingly drug dealers anyway. And so what I mean by is like there may have been people in the neighborhood with more money, but they weren't as flashy as the drug guys, right?
Right.
And so that's where I thought the come up was. And in January 19th of 1999, I did coke for the first time in my life, and whatever happened, I overdosed from it. And I had a hooker in my apartment. My buddy had talked me into having a couple hookers over. Had a hooker in my apartment.
You were living, bro.
Yeah, dude, I was doing drug dealer shit. You know what I mean?
How old were you at that time?
I was 19.
Okay.
So I'm still a teenager. This is my first apartment that I ever owned. And I guess, because I don't know what exactly happened because of the circumstances, but I guess I've been over to do another line of this coke, and when I did, I overdosed. And I didn't even get to have sex with this lady that I had already paid, right? So she runs out, calls 911. They come in, and even though I was a drug dealer, it was one of the days where I didn't have a whole lot, right? I was out. It was the end of the night. So I got caught with $200 worth of coke, but I had a bunch of bags and scales. They could tell I had been up to something. But I had a gun too, but that's pretty normal in Texas, at least I thought. Right. And they make a big deal. It's like, oh, he had a gun. Like, so do 300 other million Americans. It's just part of it being here. Yeah. But in court, it sounds scary. Right?
Yeah.
So at 19 years old, by the time I'm 20, I got to go do 2 years in prison for this $200 worth of coke. And
what does your family say when they find out?
Well, you know, they didn't. I stayed in the county jail until my grandmother finally bailed me out 3 or 4 months later, and maybe 2 or 3 months later. And then they didn't help me pay for an attorney. I had a public defender attorney. This guy was a turd. And he tells me, he's like, hey, if you'll just sign for this 2 years. I'm 20 years old. I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground.
Right.
And I'm poor white trash 20 years old. I'm not sophisticated. My kid's 20 years old. I'm a poor white trash, uninformed, ignorant person with no mentorship, no guidance, just completely lost in life. And the attorney's probably the most respectable person that I know, and he could give two shits about me, right? And he says, here, they'll give you a 2 year, you got your choice. 20 years deferred adjudication, which means it'll never be on your record, which I would just now be getting off of, by the way. And I'm 44, right? I would just now be getting off of that. He goes, you can take 10 years probation. It's going to be on your record for the rest of your life. You don't go to prison. Or you can take 2 years in prison, and you probably end up doing about 6 months, and they'll let you out on first parole. So I'm thinking 6 months versus 10 years, and it's still just... And then 20 years, like, no, I guess I'll take the 2 years. It's going to be on my record anyway.
Had you ever been, or have you ever done time prior to that?
No.
So this is your first,
like I had been in jail overnight for the time that they arrested me, or maybe a speeding ticket or something like that in a city jail that I had to pay, but never any trouble, right? So they sentenced me to the 2 years, and the lawyer tells me, you probably won't leave the county jail because you'll make first parole. You've never been in trouble before, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Within 3 weeks, they had me chained to this dude that was just huge person, right? And we're butt naked. When they like, it is the most degrading thing. And I don't know how it works in every state. This is the state of Texas. They make you strip down naked. They handcuff you and leg cuff you to someone else. Then they give you snap-on jumpsuit that slides over the cuffs. But they leave you there standing there naked for a while, man. And it's very. I'm a 20-year-old kid at this time. I'm like 120 pounds. I'm like a golf tee with a ball sitting on top of it for a head. And I'm chained to a 25, 30-year-old dude that's been hustling on the streets, lifting weights, going back to prison again. That's 240 pounds of just solid steel. And it's just, dude, it was traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
And so they put us on the chain. And I go to this prison in Tennessee Colony, Texas, which is the middle of nowhere. And we get off the bus, and I haven't said a word to nobody this whole time. And we've stopped at 5 or 6 prisons or jails to pick people up to go to prison. And we get off, and at the front of the bus, there's a handicapped dude in a wheelchair with no legs. And we get off the bus. They push that dude down the stairs of the bus, the guards.
No way.
And then 3 or 4 inmates, not from the bus, but came outside and start kicking this dude. And he got no legs, man. Like,
no mercy.
I'm thinking, oh, man, this is it for me. They're going to kill me when I get up. They're doing that to the handicapped dude. Turns out that guy a drunk driving accident, killed a family of somebody that was like important, that he had it coming, kind of a thing. You know, unfortunately it is what it is, but like scared to death even more, right? And I'm chained to this dude that's probably a killer. And then this thing's happening to this guy.
Fuck. And you're like 19, 20 at this time.
Yeah, I'm 20 and a half maybe at this time, right? Not even old enough to drink, you know? And so then I get put into this prison, and it's my life's full of crazy stories like Forrest Gump, right? But I get put into this prison, and I've always had a job, Omar. So when they throw me into this prison, 2 weeks into processing, they're like, you got a job. And they give me a job in what's called the hoe squad. You go out there with a hoe, they call them an Aggie, and you go out there with this hoe, and you're just like tearing up dirt, planting vegetables. It's like a slave job. That's what it is. You're working for free for the government as a slave. That's it. And they don't use tractors. They use human capital from the millions of people that they have incarcerated. And I was just a number in there doing that. I went out day one. I'm out there working in the field. And in Texas, the guards ride these horses. So they're on horses with assault rifles, right? And they're looking over the inmates at all times. So they stay away from them, and they're up on a horse. If somebody even flinches, they will shoot at you. Right? Because they think you're trying to escape.
Right.
And so you get on a tractor, leaves the fence of the prison, and you're on a tractor, and these horse guys and a dog guy off in the woods are what's keeping everybody from running off. But they shoot fast. They just want, know, some guys
Trigger
just
happy.
can't wait to shoot an inmate. You know, that kind of attitude. So I'm out there.
And they're talking shit. I'm sure they're egging you on,
and you have to address them, and you have to like, boss, before you can even move, or they might shoot you because you think they're going to run. It's a very serious business. And so I'm out there working, hustling, and moving these wheelbarrows. And one of the bosses come over, and I don't know ranking, sergeant, lieutenant. I don't know anything about anything at this point. I'm like 2 weeks into prison. And he comes up to me, and apparently he's the lieutenant, so he's the big boss, and he's on like the nice horse. And he's like, come turn out, or whatever he said, with me after this is over with. I'm like, man, everybody's like, what do you do? And then they're like, who are you snitching on? I'm like, I don't know anything about anything, man. I'm like, been here for 2 weeks, like trying to not get shot, guys, right? And so after this, I go and turn out and talk to this lieutenant, and he's like, can you drive a tractor? And I'm thinking, man, I think he's going to offer me a job. And I was like, yeah, I never drove a tractor in my life. It's like, yeah, I can drive a tractor. He goes, cool, tomorrow morning you drive the tractor with the inmates in it. So, dude, I got people got life sentences in this place waiting to get that job and get off the host squad. And I got it like first day on the job. Like, God bless me. You know, at that time I wasn't a religious person, but I'm like, yeah, I'm the man, right?
Yeah.
Dude, no, the first day when I show up out there on this tractor and the inmates see that I got this job, they think I snitched on somebody or something.
Oh, shit. So you're a target.
So I got the shit beat out of me. And then they sent me to another prison.
Would they jump you or what? Like,
yes.
Like what happened? You were just
three of the guys. Hey man, we've been doing this for a long time. What are you talking about? I don't tell about nothing, man. Nah, so you ain't gonna just get that job. Homeboy's been in line for that job for 10 years over there, and you just gonna come in here and take his. I didn't take anybody's job. Dude told me to turn out. Man, look, I've been locked up. You're not gonna run game on us, kind of a thing. And dude, I don't have anything to tell them. So it's just like, you know, they were old and I was younger and got my ass whooped. So. Didn't get back to that job. I got put in the hole, and then I got transported to another unit.
Did you get put in the hole because you tried to fight back? Or
yes,
you were involved in the fight?
All of us got put in the because I did try to fight back, not successfully, but.
And the hole means like solitary confinement.
Yes.
Which means they put you in a room, 4 walls, nothing.
23 hours a day, absolutely.
And what was that like? What did that feel like?
Lonely. You know, it's crazy. In that place, I hated everybody in that cell block. I hated every one of them, but it really sucked by myself.
Yeah.
At first, it's nice because you get away from everybody, you get the peace and everything else. But I think I stayed in there for like 3 weeks one time. Was my longest stint, and it's like,
Yeah.
you get bored, right? They don't give you books. Sometimes you got a Bible, sometimes you don't, and there's
You're
no
just in
TV.
your head the whole time.
Yeah. You know,
Wow.
I wrote a lot of songs and things like that I would just bang on the table and sing myself and stuff. It's just insanity. And everybody's watching you everywhere. When you leave there, you leave in handcuffs, you shower, and somebody's standing behind you watching you shower. It's just totally emasculating. I had to go back to the county jail on a bench warrant during this time, and I got in a fight with a guard. And he started it, but long story short, they threw me in the hole there for like 2 weeks, and my life was miserable. Man, they strapped me to a board and left me upside down and stuff. It was just like,
wow.
It was messed up. But that process that you see in the movies, where somebody walks down the row for the first time and everybody's like, we're gonna have sex with you tonight or whatever the hell. I had to do that 8 different times. I've been in that many prisons. They moved me from prison to prison to prison. So every time I just get settled, I got to start all over. It's one thing to have to go through that once and get in a couple fights and take your stripes and then be able to sit down and go do your time. And it's another when you're constantly having to move around every 3 or 4 months, And some places were supermax security, where they had been riots and stuff and they were on lockdown. And then some places were, converted county jails that were now serving part of the Texas Department of Justice system, but all of them were miserable. And I learned the lesson that I need to get my act together, and that no amount of money was worth going through that again. So if somebody came out and they were like, sell these 20 keys and you'll make $1 million or whatever the math is on that these days, so it's not worth it. The most I could spend that money on would be nice ice cream. And I decided that life wasn't for me. So when I got out, I made a promise to myself, and I still keep it to this day, that I won't do anything in the dark that I wouldn't do in the light. Meaning I wouldn't do something behind closed doors that I wouldn't put on a billboard in Times Square. There's nothing in my life that I'm ashamed of, or I have to answer for, or that I'm hiding or deceitful about. I stopped. And being in prison, you're supervised 24 hours a day your whole entire life. So I just got used to that. That's why the camera following me around now doesn't bother me. So I just committed to live that way. Hey, I lived by a code in the system in there. And I know Wes Watson mentions this a lot too, because he probably had similar mindset as me. Look, I got time, I can make the most of it. But I created a routine. I got consistency in there. I learned some things that some people learn in the military.
Did you find God at that time at all?
No. When I went to state prison, I was not a religious person, obviously. And everybody going to church, it was like, man, I could tell that you were only going to church and praying because you wanted parole. And then I tested that hypothesis, because I got out of prison. Okay, I did it 19, 20 months. I get out.
So you didn't end up doing the 6 months that he told you?
No, I ended up doing almost the whole 2 years, because they moved me from. So you get in a fight, they might move you to another prison. And it's just So it's like that.
And at this time, are you thinking, man, when I get out, I need to get my business act together, I need to get my life together?
Business, hell, I need to figure out like where I'm gonna get my next quarter from. So my stepdad, the one that beat me up all the time, managed the car wash. So he gave me a job working at the car wash for like minimum wage.
So you got out 20 months after 20 months?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you remember the day you got out? What that felt like?
No one was there. It wasn't like you see in the movies. It never has been for me.
There's a homie outside waiting with it. Yeah.
Nobody was there. You know what I did? I had $150 on my books, and I walked down the street to the thrift store in Huntsville, Texas. And first of all, I got to tell you the story. So I get notice that I made parole. Okay, mandatory release 19 months into it. So they send me down. The way that you make parole in Texas, everybody leaves from the same unit. Okay, so they remove me from Dawson or Beto or Gurney or wherever I was, and they move me down to this one unit overnight, and then into the Walls unit that everybody leaves from. The Walls unit's this old brick red. it looks like straight up. They killed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in this place. Like that's like how old, and it's built in the 1800s. It's just crazy, scary looking, right? And so they bring me through there. We go through this whole process. 2 a.m, they get you up, and you're gonna get out. It's your last day in prison, so they're reminding you how horrible it is, and you know the guards are super aggressive and everything. It's wild. They put you in this cattle car and just have you in there nuts to butts. It's wild. And they'd say at the end they're giving out free world clothes for you to leave in to go. You know, they're like, if you make it past the golden bars, you go home. I get all the way to the free world clothes, and the guy's reading the list of names, and my name ain't on there.
Oh, man.
Well, 2 nights ago, when I found out I made parole and I'm leaving the deal, I'm telling everybody in that prison, man, all of y'all kiss my, I hope y'all rot in this place, y'all suck. And then they didn't let me out. And they sent me right back there with those savages. 2 days later. Oh, look who's back. Hey, dude. Oh, God. But luckily for me, I had a little bit of stuff that I had accumulated over the 2 years that I'd been in there, and I gave it to the biggest dude in the pod that was also my cellmate. So when I showed back up, he was appreciative that I had left all my stuff with him, and he's like, how long are you going to be back for? It's like, maximum of 3 months, I guess, you know, and he's like, oh, I'll look out for you. They're pretty pissed at you. And so thank God for that. But then about 2 weeks later, they sent me down there and they let me go. I walked out the front doors, walked over to the thrift store, spent about $40 on some Dickie jeans and a t-shirt, hopped on the Greyhound bus and went to Dallas, and my mom was in downtown Dallas to pick me up because I had nowhere else to go.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to this video in a sec, but first, I have a quick question for you. Given that the e-commerce industry is growing by the trillions year over year, have you ever dreamed of owning your own e-commerce business like many of the guests we've had on the show, but maybe you feel stuck on how to start? Well, if so, you're not alone. The truth is, starting and setting up your own online store can be incredibly time-consuming, complicated, and get expensive. Not to mention the hassle of researching top products and staying on top of market trends that make you money. Lucky for you, that's where today's sponsor, StoreBuild.ai, comes in. With StoreBuild.ai, you instantly get a free custom-built, AI-driven store loaded with 20 winning products and a custom theme that can help you generate sales. All you need to do is head to StoreBuild.ai, enter your info, then simply sign up to Shopify for free, choose your store's look and feel, and voila! They'll send you your custom-built store ready to generate sales. The whole process is lightning fast. Whether you're just starting out or want to grow, StoreBuild.ai makes launching an online store easier than ever. So why wait? Visit StoreBuild.ai, and in less than 5 minutes, you could have the e-commerce business you've always dreamed of. Thanks to StoreBuild.ai for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the show.
How appreciative were you to be out that day? What did it feel like?
I was partially scared they were going to pick me back up at the Greyhound bus because maybe I'd done something else that they had learned about while I was gone or whatever. And really my biggest fear was that my old friends would come around and somehow I'd wind up selling drugs again. That was a big, and on one hand, I don't want to be mad to the friends and be rude to them rather and be like, you can't hang out with me. I want to be, but on the other hand, I also don't want to counsel them on their drug addictions and stuff, but I don't want to deal with that. None of them had seen what I had just seen, and I didn't want that war anymore.
Yeah.
So I just focused at where I work 70 hours a week.
And at this time, you have no support, no girlfriend writing you,
Nothing.
no friends. You're just solo, no mom, no dad, kind of being there for you, nothing.
That's it. I got the stepdad who let me work for him.
Yeah.
You know, and he didn't own the place. He was just the manager. But it'd be like your dad manages, 7-Eleven car wash, and now you're the guy washing cars. So.
Yeah.
And worked for minimum wage, but I became a good car wash person and knew everything about it, worked my ass off, started managing a couple of their locations.
And you're 21, 22, 23
Yeah, about 22 at this time.
Yeah.
And one of the customers at the car wash came in. She was a regular. She came in there often. She goes, I'd like to give you a job. I was like, what do you do? She's like, and I know in the back of my mind I'm a felon, so this is probably not going to work out, right? And she goes, I do mortgages. I'm like, what's a mortgage? I have no idea. I'm young in my 20s and white trash, poor working at a car wash. And I'm literally the only white dude that works there. I'm a pretty good Spanish speaker, especially at that time. Anything related to a car, I can name it, And so I had to earn my stripes that way. And she goes, well, if you'll come work for me half as hard as you work here at this car wash, you'll be a millionaire. And I'm like, that sounds appealing. A lot better than drug dealing or washing cars. It's like 110 degrees outside washing cars in Texas, And so she convinced me to do it. It took a little while, but she convinced me to do it. And I go to work for her, quit my job, risking everything. This is a commission-only job. I quit my job.
Do you have any money in your savings or at all when you quit
maybe
your job?
$50.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
So you're on fumes at
maybe
this time.
$100 in cash, I'm on fumes, but I lived on fumes.
Yeah.
That probably made me feel pretty rich at the time. I got $50 to myself.
Yeah.
And so I go work for her, and within a week, that weekend, so start on Monday, that Saturday I'm at my friend's house, I'm at his parents' house, and I realized they'd lived there for a long time. And I asked them, I said, y'all ever heard of a refinance? And they were like, on like our mortgage? I was like, yeah, I took this new job. And they're like, you were just washing our car last week. I was like, look, I don't know anything, but this lady I work for is brilliant. If I could get you on the phone with her, maybe she could help you guys out. Would you be willing to at least talk to her and hear her out?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you've always had a job. You've always been the responsible one, other than the little drug dealing stuff that you did. So, at this time I worked for the car wash for a couple of years and worked my way up, so they'd see me become a responsible person, and naturally I'd get a better job. So they gave me a shot. I ended up making $6,800 on that deal, dude, and it was like crack.
Wow.
I went from, it would take me 6 months to make $6,800 at the car wash, and that's if it didn't rain.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, I got it in 1. 2 weeks later, the old landscaper from the car wash calls me, and he says, hey, where are you at? I don't see you around here anymore. I've been mowing the yards, and you're not here. And I said, I quit. I became a mortgage guy, and I just made my first commission check. I got my first deal under my belt. And he goes, cool, we're buying a house, $800,000. Why don't you do our mortgage?
No way. Just
Like,
came.
you got to be kidding me. So then I made like 20 grand off of that. So within a month and a half, now I'm sitting on $26,000 that I made in commissions, and I'm like, bam, off to the races. But
Light
then,
bulb goes off.
then my warm market was gone. I had to figure out what to do next. That happens to a lot of people. They get in real estate, they go close a house real quick, they think it's going to last forever. 6 months later, they run out of people that they know that can buy a house. What are you going to do then? I can figure out how to market. Back then, I would go to get rich quick seminars, because a lot of them were about real estate. And then when people would come out, it's like, I'm the bank that you can get all the money from. Let's do business together. You want to get rich quick through real estate, no money down. We've got, stated no money down loans. And so that was how I built my business. And I got to a point where I get out of prison in 2001, right after 9/11. And 9/11, I was in prison, watched that happen on TV. And by 2005, I have made $700,000 in a year.
Wow.
In that short period of time. My second year in mortgages, I made almost $1 million. I was doing everything a 26-year-old with money coming out the butt would do, throwing parties, bought a nice house, and just throwing parties. My neighbors hated me.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of young people coming and drinking. One day the cops kicked in my door. I wasn't even home, Omar.
Yeah.
I wasn't even home. And they found me the next day and arrested me they kicked in my house because they thought I was selling drugs. I didn't even have sandwich bags in there. Wasn't doing drugs, wasn't using drugs. It was a time where I'd already gotten past that. And
You were 100% sober at this time?
Yep.
Yeah.
I wasn't even smoking weed at that time.
Yeah.
And probably drank alcohol pretty often, but I wasn't smoking weed, anything, right? And cops kicked in the door of my house. Didn't find any drugs, but they found the guns. They charged me with felon in possession of a firearm. They arrested me. I went to jail, bonded out, ended up getting them to drop the case because I had the right to have it in my house because of some circumstances. Got the thing dropped. The ATF picked the same fucking case up, and then they prosecuted me because you can't beat the federal government. And they gave me 15 months in federal prison. So now here I'm a millionaire. I own 32 houses. I'm married, and I'm about to go back to federal prison.
Wait, so in that span, real quick, so in the 4 or 5 years you get out, you get married, make $1 million, buy a house.
Buy 32 houses.
How'd you get 32 investment
Back then, they
properties?
did the stated non-owner occupied properties. 100% financing, no money down. All you had to do was sign papers. Literally, you just show up and sign papers. So I had a pipeline of renters. I buy it 100%, no money down. Literally, no money down. Some cases, Omar, we were getting money back when I would buy a house.
So what was the structure of deals at that time? Just in context, yeah.
Yeah, so they call them double closes. So what I would do is I would go to D.R. Horton and I would buy a home for $160,000. We'll give you an example.
Get it under contract?
Get under contract for $160,000. Then I would double close it through, so then I would sell it from D.R. Horton to New Home Distributions.
Like wholesale.
Right?
Yeah.
To New Home Distributions. Then New Home Distributions would do the loan to Ryan Stewman, right? Just in this example. And so Ryan Stewman's borrowing $180,000 on a house at $160,000, but Ryan Stewman's the second buyer in line. So when this thing funds from the bank, it pays New Home Distributions $20,000 or $180,000. New Home Distributions pays D.R. Horton $160,000, and now I've got that $20,000 cash in my name, and I own the home.
Yeah. So you just rinse and repeat over and over.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then once I got the first couple under my belt, now I got earnest money to go buy 5 or 10 at a time. And again, I just doing the loans. Back then, we didn't have the technology for loans to communicate. So you could have 5 brokers filling out the same type of loan on one house, and none of the banks talked. Right.
Yeah.
And it was a gray area.
Yeah.
You know, but they were not owner occupied, so it was all investment deals going at the same time. And a guy like me could have easily just said, dude, we have so many deals, there's no way for us to keep up with what's closing and what doesn't on every loan application.
Do you think what was making you move with that level of urgency was the fact that you were just incarcerated, so getting out, you felt like you had to capitalize as fast as possible? Because 32 is a lot. That meant you were like moving and shaking. So did getting out create urgency in you that wasn't there otherwise? Or how did it? You get what I mean?
Opportunity. This opportunity, you know, I acted the same in the car wash at 70 hours a week that I acted in the mortgage business that I act today. I was just all in.
You just had the right different vehicles.
And this opportunity was a lot more lucrative. And I'm like, man, I don't know if this will last forever or not, but I'm hammered down. You remember when you first started making, you know, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, you were like, man, this is addicting. And wow, I'm actually cracking the code and, you know, staying up late at night, reading all the books, going to all the seminars, showing up at all the sales rallies, making all the calls. That was me.
Yeah.
You know, just dialed in. And then it all came crashing down. I ended up going to prison for 15 months in Seagoville, Texas, the federal prison. And
how old are you this time around?
25.
Wow.
No, 28. And because I got out when I was 30. So I'm 28 when I go in, a millionaire. And I walk out 15 months later, again, with $50 to my name, $25 to my name, some shit like that.
Did you lose the house and the
everything.
house?
She took it off. She left me for one of the landscapers that did all the guy that owned
your ex-wife?
Yeah, she left me for the landscaper that managed all the lawns for the rent houses.
No way.
They went and spent my money together, and they ended up getting married for 10 years or so. So they're divorced now.
So you make $1 million, get 32 investment properties, get married, you lose it all and lose the wife, and here you are at 30 in prison again. So you're sitting down like, what the fuck?
Man, imagine walking around prison and knowing that you got money on the outside and knowing that someone loves you on the outside and telling the other inmates, no, it's okay, I'm going to get through this time. I got my stuff together. I put things right. My wife loves me, and other inmates saying, man, it'll never last. They always leave you. Nah, she's different. She's different. Then 6 months into a 15-month stint getting that letter, I met someone else. You actually know them. We're spending your money.
Oh my God.
You're on your own when you get out. And so
no way, dude.
I did what anybody with the amount of PTSD like I had to suffer through would do, and I wrote a dickhead letter back, which is probably the worst thing that I could have done because I'm powerless back there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, F you asshole, and after all I did for you, because I did a lot for this person, and he just left me in the hardest time ever. So you talk about what's a rock bottom moment. Imagine a rock bottom moment, and then the devil hands you a jackhammer, and he's like, dig deeper, son. You know, that was me at that moment. And then I got to face all these guys, and I got to make 1 or 2 decisions because everything in prison's wide open. There are no lies in there. Everybody knows your business. You can't hide it. I gotta make 1 or 2 decisions. Am I gonna lie to these guys and act like everything's cool at home, even though my chick ain't showing up at visits no more, and they're not stupid?
Yeah.
Or am I not have to go and admit to everybody now? I talk about for 6 months how lucky guy I am. I got a good wife and job, and now those things are gone for me when I get out. You know, I mean, it was just crush my ego, crush my everything. And then I got to come out, and one day my parents come to visit me. They visited me like one time while I was in there, and they came to visit me, and they said, you know, the reason why we're here is because we seen your ex-wife with this other person. It's like, man, why you bring that shit to me for?
Yeah.
I'm in here. You know, like y'all wasted a whole Saturday to come 3 hours up here to deliver bad news for me that don't do nothing but make me just,
worse,
you know. And so I got out, went to the halfway house with $25, $50 in my name, and lived in a halfway house. But while I was in prison, I knew, okay, first of all, I went in there with a plan to learn and everything else and to write a book. And I was going to write this book while I was in there. But then that divorce happened, and it's like, there's no book to write. You know, I got divorced in prison. So there's like no book to write. So I'll read books and I'll just become a better person. I'll get better at this. This is my fault. I have to own this responsibility. I put myself in this situation. I need to be a responsible person. I'm going to be a better Ryan. And that's what I did. I read books every day. I borrowed books, had my people on the outside send me books. And then when I got out, I didn't have any money, but I had this. I had the mentality of, I know I've done it before, so I can do it again. I know it's possible to get money in this country because I did it. Okay, and I've seen other people do it. I'm smarter than I was when I went in prison. I just got to find the right opportunity. And so the first opportunity I went into was this place called Credit Solutions, and I showed up. It was a dream job. You know, they had Red Bull everywhere. The office looks like my office looks now. Just a dream job. On Friday, on like Tuesday, I went to a group meeting. Friday, they called me back for individual meeting, hired me, told me to come in Monday. All weekend long. I got a job, to my friends, my family. I'm back, baby, I'm back, right? Because I know I'm a closer, so I know as soon as they let me loose, I got a point to prove.
Right.
And Monday morning, right before I had to go to the office, they called me and they said, we ran your background, we can't hire you. Why didn't you tell us you were a felon? Man. So a couple days later, one of my buddies that I had been bragging to calls me and he's like, I'll give you a job. I can get you a job up here at this mortgage company. But I had been in prison during the subprime meltdown, and I'm like, mortgages are bad. Should I even be in that business? That's why I was trying to do the debt solution, because I knew deadbeats were everywhere at this point.
So it was like 08?
Yes, 08. Yeah, I got out in 08, July of 08. And so he goes, just come up here and talk to him. So I ended up taking that job, ended up becoming the top producer at that company, and made like 300 grand in 09, right? Just fresh out the pen, bad economy, and on top of the world. And building everything back, you know, end up rekindling my high school sweetheart. We bought a house together and starting to get my life back together, and the government steps in and Dodd-Frank happens because of the subprime meltdown. One little caveat of Dodd-Frank is if you're a felon, you cannot get a financial license until 7 years after your parole period. I'm still dead ass on parole.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So that company had to lay me off, the top producer. They had to let me go.
Wow.
And one thing felonies have done for me, Omar, this really saved my ass, because there is no gray area with me. I don't break the law. I don't cross the line. If it's not right, I don't do it, because I can't afford that third strike. This keeps me in check, right?
Yeah.
So when I left the mortgage company, people were like, well, we'll pay you under the table for this or that. I couldn't do it, man, because if we get caught, you're just going to point the finger at me, and I'm going to go back, and they're going to let you off because you've never been in trouble before. So I don't know what to do. But when I got out of prison in 08, my sister turned me on to Facebook. And I have been posting on Facebook occasionally about me with the top producer plaque, and this is in 08, and me on how the mortgage market's working, and then also pictures of my life and stuff like that too. But I was just putting it up because I wanted that ex-wife to know that I'm still winning, you know what I mean? Like, y'all might be mowing yards, but I'm writing loans again.
Yeah.
And because of that, I started getting leads. And people were like, hey, Stewman, now that you're, doing mortgages again, could you get us a home? And so when 2010 happens and I lose this license, I'm like, dude, this Facebook, we're onto something here. You can mortgage people, real estate people, they can get business from this. And people back then didn't even know what Facebook was. I would have to explain to them what social media was, how to get a login to Facebook, and then how to grow. That's like how infant it was at that point. But I saw something big about it. And I thought, man, I can go get a job somewhere else, which continually doesn't work for me, or I can just figure out my own thing. So here I am starting a new market. Social media was brand new. It's 5 years old, maybe 10 years old at the latest when I get into it, and it wasn't even mainstream until 2014. And so here I'm in a brand new industry with a brand new product and a plan that nobody understands, and I'm like ready to go sell it. I made it to 70 customers, believe it or not. I actually did their social media posts for them. So my first company, I took, Omar, I'm going to be you on social media, right? And I'm going to make your posts every day on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook.
For real estate professionals to generate leads.
For loan officers, because that was all I knew was loan officers. It morphed into realtors because I've done a lot of real estate transactions, but in the beginning, just loan officers. I stayed in my lane. That's all I knew. That's all I felt worthy to teach. And so I did that. And when I got to about 70 people, I don't know how to hire people. I don't know how to scale a business. I don't even know anything about anything. I'm just a dude that was good at doing finances for the bank. Crap, now I got to figure all this stuff out. I couldn't take any more clients on. The 70 was max. And the most I was making was like $8,000 a month. maybe on a good month, 10 grand. And I was like, I'll never get more than this. I was making more than this doing mortgages. I got to figure something else out. I met Frank Kern. And Frank Kern,
Shout out Frank Kern.
yeah, the OG. Frank Kern taught me how to build a digital product. And so I built digital product. And now I had something that I could sell and leverage my time, and started teaching what I was doing in social media via videos and Kajabi and people logging in, which we still do today, all these years later. And a shout out to Frank. Frank saved my life several times. I owe tens of millions of dollars in my income to Frank Kern, and without a doubt. And so because of that, it has morphed into this digital products at this time was what I basically sold. So I had a $2,000 digital product that taught you everything that you needed to know on how to get leads as a loan officer. And it seemed at that time, everybody's like, wow, now it's normal. But at the time, everybody's like, that's an expensive digital product. They were usually $59, $79 or something like that from ClickBank. But my thought process was, well, I'm selling it to you, the loan officer. If you do one loan from this, you're going to make 2 G's.
Yeah.
Just even, doesn't matter what part of the country, and if you just do one deal, you get your money back.
ROI, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got a return on it. Once you do one, you're going to be addicted and go on to the next one and the next one, which is what happened. And that program is obviously morphed into what I do today. But it was, all of this stuff wasn't, one day, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or one day, this is my game plan now that I'm out of college. It's just like a Forrest Gump twist and turn of my life eventually winding up here.
Hey guys, quick question. Have you been enjoying this video, but you're thinking to yourself, man, I love this content, but I want to learn how to grow my brand or my business? Well, if your answer is yes, you're not alone. In fact, millions of entrepreneurs deal with this exact same issue. And it's something that I've learned the answer to from interviewing 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs around the world. And this philosophy that solves all that is a concept called who, not how. Now, the who, not how philosophy states that anytime you're stuck on the hows to get to the next level in your life, your brand, or your business, that there's always a who to help you get there. And it's for this exact reason that I'm super excited to announce that I've officially launched our brand new Passionate Few community to help you do exactly that. And yes, it's 100% free. Join me and the thousands of other entrepreneurs that can help you make your life, your business, and your dreams a reality. With no further ado, let's get back to the video.
And then at that point, once you start selling digital products, how old are you? And then where does the impetus or the idea of like, I want to do more grow? Because like when you were younger, was your dream to be a multimillionaire? It sounds like it wasn't. It sounds like it was just to kind of survive, get ahead. But where is the moment where you shift from, selling 1 or 2 products online to like, I could build a multi-million-dollar business here?
Well,
or was it gradual?
It was very gradual. Yeah. I knew it was possible because Frank did it. And the funny thing about Frank is he doesn't seem smart, right? Which is a complete character he plays. He's brilliant. But the great news is he didn't seem smart to me. So it's like, hey, that guy can do it. I can do it. This is long hair, shoeless Frank, right? This is a long time ago, Surfer Frank. And now if you saw him and he's put together well, you'd be like, he's a smart dude. But he used to play this clueless character of a guy, right? And so I knew it was possible because he had done it. And I bought in, Frank and Kevin Nations did a deal together called One Man Millions. And I bought into that for $8,000. And after I bought into it, Kevin approached me and he said, I'd like to coach you. It's, first payment of $5,000. And I thought it said $5,000. I didn't realize I committed to $25,000, right? I spent my last dollar to fly to Kevin. I'm going to say last dollar. I mean, if it didn't work out, I was in trouble. I didn't have a hotel to sleep at. I flew to Kevin's house to a Mastermind with the intention of closing him on letting me use an extra bedroom in his place. Seriously.
Yeah.
I show up there in Vegas, 2013, and I meet a guy named AJ Roberts. And AJ lives here locally. Kevin goes around the room and he's like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? And he's correcting. This guy goes, I need more leads. You got a bunch of leads. You need to call your people and have this conversation. You got this. You need an offer. And he looks at me and I was like, I got a brand new business with no leads. I got sales skills. I'll call y'all's leads for you. If you want me to call your leads, I'll close them for you, whatever. You can pay me a commission. And he goes, I tell you what, you go get with AJ and run ads. So he hooked me up with AJ. AJ pulled one of my YouTube videos, made a woofu picture. We slammed them together, ran an ad for a free strategy session on Facebook. Within 4 hours, I had about 20 leads.
Wow.
Within about 5 hours, I had 4 or 5 sales under my belt. So now I'm sitting on 6 to 10 grand.
Wow.
In just from attending this event. And it was at that moment, it was like, all I got to do is figure out how to turn this machine up. And I still, to this day, Omar, I'd like to tell you, and then from there, we scaled it because gazillions of dollars. We had an ad that took off and got 1 billion views. I have not been that fortunate. It has been a series of trials and tests. And no, we winning in a big way, right? And we're not poor. We have huge profit margins, and everything is great. But it has never been one viral video with me in it. There's never been one viral Instagram reel. There's never been a publication that took off. It's just been 500 hits here, 200 views here, 1,000 listens here, a couple of likes here. But man, when you have made as many reps as I have, there's so many things out there that, you know, this catching 200, but there's 70,000 things catching 200 views each. So, but I just put in the time to do all that. But there might be people watching, waiting for that. And then there was that one video that took off. It's never happened for me. But I haven't needed that. Life's been great. I've been able to build the empire that I have without that happening. So maybe this will be that video. Maybe we're about to pull it off. You know, this could be the one.
I think so. Now, let me ask you this. When you started to get momentum with it, did you sort of run into the trap of trying to figure out what to do next? Or did you kind of get like scatterbrained with all these different things? I could try this, I could try that. I know when we interviewed Alex Hermosi, shout out Alex, he talked about how once you start having success, you get a little bit of confidence and you go, oh, maybe I could do a supplement company, or maybe I could do this, maybe I could try these different things. Was there ever a point where you tried other entrepreneurial things that failed after you had momentum, or did you keep the main thing as you grew it?
I have always kept the main thing, but I have tried other stuff and failed. A supplement company, for example. I had some friends come to me and they said, we have this supplement company and we bought it from Colin Wayne, who is a great dude, right?
Yeah.
And so we bought his old integrity-driven nutrition, I think is what it was called. And he was making at the time, you know, it was a decently profiting business for him, and you know, to the tune of 5 figures of profit every month, right? So I mean, it was doing decent. I don't remember exactly the deal. I put $70,000 into it and thought I was going to build this supplement company. Most of the $70,000 I put into it was to buy the inventory so that we could sell it. They had a Facebook page with a couple hundred likes on it, blah, blah, blah. Turns out I had no idea how to write copy for a supplement company. I didn't know anybody to call. My friends that bought it with me, we're all real estate dudes. We have no idea. We thought, dude, everybody takes supplements. It'll be easy to sell supplements. End up losing all of our money and shutting the company down. And I learned a few things, what not to do. And it was my first business venture outside of real estate where I'd made an investment. And then for that to fail, but it was a good reminder. It's like, just stay on the main course here. You know, I own a lot of different companies now, but they all intertwine, right? Like the software company, Phone Sites, they intertwines with the Mastermind because the business owners need to use it. And I created it so we would have something to use, right? The events company coincides with the Mastermind because we're throwing events. Why wouldn't we throw them for our friends and stuff when I'm not using them? So
yeah, and I know you help a lot of 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, high-level people. Can you talk a little bit about Phone Sites and also the Apex Mastermind?
Yeah, so Phone Sites is the fastest loading website application that you can get. So basically you don't even need a laptop, you don't have to watch a tutorial, you don't need tech skills, and you can build a funnel, like a Linktree type of page, a sales funnel. You can do video pages, programs, anything you need that can be done with a web page you can make on Phone Sites within a matter of about 10 minutes. And they're made mobile flash designs, so they're just like super fast, man. They beat everything. And I used other softwares. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to demean them or anything. I used other softwares that were great, but man, I'm not that smart. So they were very tech. You had to be a techie person to be able to use a lot of the technologies in our space. I just needed something that the average realtor or insurance person or roofer could slap together a quick sequence of pages. And turns out the simpler pages with the easier offers convert a lot better than the flashy widget, lots of offer pages. And so we've taken off. We've got 14,500 or so users right now.
Wow.
And it's a 4-year-old company, so it's been established for a while. It does 7 figures a year as software, recurring revenue. And I've built that with no investors, no partners. It's just me.
Was it born out of your own necessity?
Yes, 100%.
A lot of successful entrepreneurs say that when they try to build a product to make money primarily, they end up failing. But when they build it for themselves first, it's proof of concept that it has utility, and then that's more scalable. Yeah.
We needed it for our business. We needed something simple and fast. If we pull up to an investment property, we needed something we could take a picture of and then put it on the internet and collect people's information.
And who's it for? Business owners, or whose phone sites for?
Yeah, entrepreneurs. You know, business owners, whether you're a real estate agent, coach, consultant, plumber, electrician, anybody that wants to capture leads from social media or wants to capture leads from Google Ads or any of that stuff. If you're looking for leads and you want to build a website that collects them, phone site's the easiest solution.
Cool. And we'll put a link down below for people who want to try it. Now, talk about Apex as well, because I know that's amazing, and you coach some of the top-level entrepreneurs in the country. Would love to get context on what made you start it, and just full high-level context. What is the Apex Mastermind for people who don't know?
It's a network of people committed to becoming the greatest version of themselves. That's what Apex is. The greatest business person, the greatest spouse, the greatest parent, the greatest fitness person, people that are on the path to greatness. Not perfection. It's not people trying to be perfect. It's not uppity people. A lot of them are blue-collar people that swing a hammer for a living. And it's just people that we know right now this world's lacking examples. And we see the rich people on TV like the Kardashians, and no disrespect to them, I'm sure they're great people, but they don't always set the greatest example of how they've come up or some of the actions that they do. We see, you know, these musicians and Hollywood people, and we find out a lot of them have demons behind the scenes that we look up to. Where's the real examples? Where are the guys that are good fathers, and the ladies that are good mothers, that are raising kids, that have built a 7, 8, even 6-figure empire? It doesn't matter what the money is, but that are doing the right thing, that are good Americans, or just good citizens of the country that they're in, and that are leading their employees, leading their communities, leading their churches, or whatever religion that they're a part of. That's what Apex is all about, right? But in order to do that, Omar, you have to get money first, right? It goes God, money, air. I'm sorry, God, air, money, then everything else. And I know a lot of people listening to this are going to go, oh, yeah, he put that above family and everything else. My family can't go to school if I don't pay my real estate taxes. My wife doesn't have the opportunity to drive the kids to school if I don't make car payments. Right? Like, money is important. Zig Ziglar said, you know, it ranks up there only right below air, because air's still free. As soon as they figure out how to tax it, money's going to be more important than air, Omar. And the truth is, if we get the money right, and we're a good person with good intentions and good direction in our life, we can get everything else right. It costs money to have a gym membership, to take vitamins, to eat healthy. So you want to make money to be the best physical version of yourself. It costs money to give your kids a good education, whether in private school or college down the road, or whatever the case, and to carry good insurance on them, and heaven forbid something happened to them. I want to take care of my family. I want to take care of my employees, you know, and so many people, they miss that. And so with the Apex, that's what it's all about. I have to be the example, but I have tons of other examples at this point too. But the program started because I started selling those $2,000 packages, and people started asking, hey, you know, are you going to do events? So I started doing events. And for my first event, I had 5 people at it. So it's not like a huge thing. It's just grown over time. But in 2016, Frank Kern, once again, shows up. And I came out here to San Diego, and I went to his house, and he sat down, and he tells me this. I love Frank. He's one of the most instrumental people in my life.
I love him too, yeah.
He says, Stewman, I did the math. I've missed out, and I'm just going to extract a number here. I missed out in $14 million worth of revenue because I didn't follow this process. I'm going to teach it to you. I know you're consistent. You'll stay with it forever. Cool. He tells me monthly recurring revenue subscription. Stop selling the digital products for $2,000. Give them away for free inside of your mastermind for $200 a month. Okay, so we start Break Free Academy Entourage, and I give away all my digital products in that stuff, and all you got to do is be a member for $200 a month. Then we're going to start adding more things to it. So people like that, but then they started saying, hey, well, how do we get live events, or how do we get coaching, or what? They're just asking for more, and if enough people ask for it, I would consider it. So then we started an in-person group where we would meet once a month in person. This was pre-pandemic and stuff like that. We still do this now, but it's pre-pandemic, so in-person meetings were a big deal. And there's like maybe 10 people there at the in-person once a month meetings for a while. And then they would bring referrals, and we would grow a little bit. And then eventually in 2017, I started Apex. And I took that same monthly recurring model, and I said, I got a $269 a month deal, $1,000 a month, and a $5,000 a month program. Here's what you get with this program. Here's what you get. And it depends on not so much what you're paying as opposed to what you need, because we deny a lot more people from, hey, I want to do the $5,000. It's like your best bet's going to be at 1,000 to get the best bang for your buck, and then once you've accomplished these milestones, we'll get you into the other program. But we got to get you here first, right? So now, flash forward all these years, dialing in that brand, we've got 3,000 plus members.
Wow.
And across all 3 levels. And
recurring revenue.
We have recurring, we have 8 figures a year in recurring revenue for that. I called Frank up the other day and I told him, hey, because of what you taught me, I have made over $36 million in recurring revenue. I appreciate that, right? I was like, do you still have your program? He's like, no, shit, I quit doing it. It's like, damn it.
I love Frank.
But that's why he picked me, because he knows when I start something, I don't stop. And so I still do it to this day. But when it changed from Break Free Academy to Apex in 2017, I realized a big thing in this industry, and this hopefully will help some of the audience that's in our industry, is Tony Robbins. Much respect to that guy.
Love
right?
Tony. Yeah.
Great guy. He changed my life. Personal Power was one of the first books that I read in prison.
Yeah.
And
shout out Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
changed
absolutely.
my life too.
And he, like, Frank Kern had the validity for me to hire him because he had done stuff for Tony, right? So that was like the rabbit hole that I went down to get to Frank. But when Tony's business is over, or he retires or passes away or whatever happens in the future, like the Tony Robbins brand,
yeah, it's all under his
it's
name.
him,
Yeah,
right. If Unleash the Power Within and Tony Robbins ain't there, it will never pack out again. It won't. Doesn't matter if he has Damon John or Elon Musk, replace him. They're going for Tony.
right.
And same with Grant. Zig Ziglar is somebody who has passed away, and his son Tom struggles with that company oftentimes because it's not his dad,
Right.
And same with Napoleon Hill. I think Brad Lee owns a lot of the rights to that, and he's told me that he's struggled with that brand because Napoleon's dead.
Right.
And
So
as
it's
much as
predicated on the face versus enterprise value. Yeah.
as much as we like those guys, I'm not going to a Zig Ziglar conference that Zig's not at, right? And so I realized that, okay, I need to build something that's not Ryan Stewman.
Yeah.
I need to build something that's a name that if Omar's a member and Omar's an exceptional member, then he's just as much the face of this thing as I am. That way, when I pass away, if something happens to me, then this thing can live on without me because of the people. It's not about Ryan Stewman, it's about the people in it. So I went on this mission and this purpose to create as many, what I call examples of this program. These are people that are the testimonials, the leaders, the folks that have put in the work, that are doing the best as possible, and make them the face of it. I was just talking to Cole earlier, even our ads strategy is not me sitting here going, hey, buy my stuff, I'm awesome. It's someone like yourself going, hey, since I've joined Apex, here's who I am, and since I've joined Apex, here's what's happened in my business, and without being a part of this network, these things wouldn't have taken place. So, we really do so, and we have them run it from their page, so they're getting the likes and the exposure from it, and their local market, we're getting the referrals from it. So I truly have made that switch to make this all about the people.
I love that. Now, when you started it, obviously, I don't know if you had the vision of it to do tens of millions of dollars, but do you remember a moment where maybe there was a certain money in your bank account, a certain amount in your bank account, or a net worth or whatever, where you went, holy shit, how did I go from a dude in Texas who was with a stripper doing coke, trying to figure it out, being in the system, to like a business, doing tens of millions of revenue? Does that ever trip out for you? Do you ever kind of have moments where you go, holy shit, how did I do this?
I have moments like that every day where I thank God for them. But there was a day, and it was in November of 2014, and August of 2014 was my first six-figure month in my life. Okay, so
how old were you at that time?
I would have been, so that was 9 years ago, it would have been 35. And it was my first six-figure month. Okay, I have been making six figures a year and even seven figures a year the prior year, but it was my first six-figure month, and it was like, wow, we have been that 50 to 80, 80 to 90, like now we did it, right?
Yeah.
And then September comes around, we do it again. This time it's like 120, 115. October comes around, it's 130, 140. And, August, I was really happy, so I put on the internet, we had a six-figure month.
Right.
In September, we did it again, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
In October, oh my God, this is really happening. November, I remember thinking, once we cleared another 6 figures, let's say we're 150, and I'm just whatever. I don't remember exactly. But say we're at 100 and something in November, and I'm like, I need to shut up about the money that I'm making, because this is like real money, like 6 figures a month. Like a lot of people say that in their grandiose, but like this is, I know firsthand now. I'm touching it. This is a lot of money. And you know, now I could be liable for lawsuits, so I need to watch my mouth. Now I have a real business with assets, so I need to be careful here. And that was that moment where it was like, wow, I have real responsibility and cash coming in, you know, and again, that was a long time ago, but that was that point. But I look up now, and we own acreage in Oklahoma. We have a huge real estate portfolio, and I think of what my kids are going to be able to inherit and manage through the trust that we've set up with them. And it's like, it's surreal to think that all this was done without help. In a sense, there's always been help. There's been clients and people that work for me, but the banks haven't helped me. Like the most business owners, what they do is they come up with a business plan. They go down to the bank gives them money to go start their business plan, or they go out to individual investors to start their business plan, and they get funding. I had to do all this off an American Express card, which meant it was due every month. Whatever I paid this month, if it didn't work out, I was in trouble. Right? There was no going back, and American Express is not the ones not to pay. Yeah. And so it's just crazy to look back that probably every other day in this business I've wanted to quit. You know, even recently, it's like, you know, man, a job may not be such a big deal, right? Like, it's just part of being an entrepreneur. It's like, I could probably make $1 million a year doing this, and that'd be way less stressful. Yeah. It's part of it, but.
And the lifestyle difference probably doesn't change at a certain level, right? Yeah.
Man, I'm still wearing $40 pants that I probably bought last year, and the same company shirts that I always wear. And this is whether I'm here or somewhere else. You might catch me on the ranch with boots and jeans, but those are even cheaper, right? And so, no, it doesn't change. I'm not the guy that needed to go out and buy a bunch of Gucci suits and all this.
How about cars? Any splurges on cars?
I am a car guy. But yes, I have 7 cars, but.
What kind of cars? What's the lineup?
So I have a Lamborghini Evo, a McLaren 720S, a Porsche Panamera Turbo S, an Escalade, ESV, a TRX, a Ford F-250 4x4, and a 1978 GMC 2500 4x4.
So you got 7 cars, one for every day of the week.
Yeah, some of them are my trucks are really the ranch trucks, so they're for out there. But I learned from Pegman. I don't know if you know him or not.
The exotics.
Yeah,
exotic
so
car
I
hacks.
took that course back in 2017, PJ.
Yeah.
I took that course back in 2017 for like $99 on a Black Friday sale. Yep. And I was like, oh, I could do this. It was one of those things where I can do this. And so I have owned 17 exotic cars, but I have made money from a lot of them. Thanks to PJ's course, reality. It's not always possible. It takes money to make money, and it takes building up credit to get there. So it's been a patient process over almost 6 years now. Yeah. But thanks to him, you know, I had a car that I bought last year that I made $125,000 profit from.
What car was it?
Lamborghini STO.
And you just bought it like good
I bought it
in the
on the allocation. See, I get allocations from Lamborghini all the time. I got a Urus Performante coming in January. I bought so many cars I can get allocations from McLaren, Porsche, Lamborghini. They'll give them to me because I'm a repeat buyer. And so I do have these cars, but they have kind of paid for themselves.
Yeah, because of marketing too. Yeah.
Well, and me flipping cars to get them to pay for themselves. So for a long time, I didn't keep a car more than a couple months because I'm buying it with the intention of knowing it's not really mine. I'm going to flip it.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas the ones I have now, I've had for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So they're the ones they're my final cars. Like my Lambo is completely decked out and wrapped in Apex colors and got a bunch of everything's aftermarket on it. My 720 is the same thing. It's been tuned. They've both been tuned. They have new fins on them, new wheels, lowered, exhaust, like everything you can do. It's funny, Lamborghini probably spends billions of dollars into research to what makes the perfect car, and then I take it, chop it up, make it into something that I want it to be.
Anyways, That's funny. Now, switching gears, I want to talk about, obviously I know you're married now, and you remarried. Obviously, your first marriage ended.
I'm on 4, homeboy.
You had 4?
Dude, I've been in and out of prison, and then when 2010 I was married. So first lady, I get out of prison, we get married, doesn't work out, we split up. Second one, I get married, go to prison. She leaves me in prison for the landscaper. Third one, I get out, go back with my high school sweetheart. We have a kid together. We get married, and I lose my job as a loan officer, and she wasn't cut out for this entrepreneurial stuff. So she ends up leaving me too. In 2014, I met my wife. What happened? I got to tell you the story now that we've got this out, though. Is I don't know. You like me, I like you, we should get married. That's the natural progression. That's the ladder of life, right? Like we go to first base, second base, third base, then we move in together, then we have kids together, then we get married, or in somewhere in that order, right? So I'm just trying to follow the process.
Yeah.
Then
rounding the bases.
Yep. The first lady, she cheated on me, did me wrong. She left me. It is what it is. Second lady cheated on me, left me, did me wrong. It is what it is. Third lady, she didn't cheat on me. She left me because she's like, hey, when I married you, you were this loan officer, and now you're this wild internet personality. I'm not cut out for that, so didn't work out. And I'm like, man, all I'm trying to do is not be lonely.
Yeah, and you're trying to be a good man. You're marrying them.
And it was never I cheated on any of them or I beat any of them or anything. It was just like I worked too hard or I wasn't as empathetic enough or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so one day a friend of mine tells me, hey, write down your perfect person. And so I write down this perfect person, this perfect spouse, everything about her. Look like, drive, act, how we would live our life together, everything else. And he's like, okay, so now you know what you want. So I'm dating all these chicks. You know, I'm single again, so I'm dating all these chicks. And then I run across my wife. It's a funny, long story. We'll be here forever. But I run across my wife, and after we start dating for 3 or 4 months.
How'd you meet her the first time?
On Tinder. That's why I say it's a crazy story. So I'm in town shooting a TV show with Josh Altman, right, from $1 Million Listing, and I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I need somebody to be my date on the show. So I had like 4 chicks show up, and I'm a nice guy, man. I'm not going to be like, you're ugly, you'll work. I can't do that. I know it's Hollywood. They do that. I cannot look somebody in the face and be like, not you, lady. I cannot do it. So I had the producer do it. So there's 5 or 6 ladies, and I see all of them, and the producer lets one of them's not even wearing shoes. And I ask her, what happened to your shoes? She goes, the police kicked in the door of my apartment. I ran over here. It was the closest place. I was like, what the hell, right? Like, where do we find these chicks? But Amy didn't make it to that lineup. So we shoot the TV show or whatever. The next day, Amy hits me up on Tinder, and she's like, you know, I don't do this Tinder stuff. If you want something from me, just here's my phone number, call me. So I called her. And then I had to come back to Arizona the next month, so I was calling her to set up for next month, right? And so that's what happened, though. She showed up the next month at the event that I was speaking at, and we end up staying together. And after we're dating for 3 or 4 months, like I said, I gave her that, hey, what do you think about this? And it didn't say my perfect spouse. It was just like the description. And she goes, oh, you wrote this about me. That's so nice of you. I was like, no, but I think I finally found what I'm looking for. Now we've been together for 9 years. We have 4 children. She had a son prior to me, so I adopted him. We have 2 together. I have a son prior to her, so we're this one big, happy, blended family. We get along with our exes. We get like this.
That's beautiful, man.
But it's been a long road. But 9 years, longest relationship I've ever had.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs? Because I know the highest divorce rates are among entrepreneurs, and it's very challenging, especially early on when you're in the building phase. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs from your experience? Obviously, it's not perfect. There's growing pains, and you learn. But what advice do you have for men or women building a business on how to find the right person, or what are things to look for with a significant other?
Men, let me speak to you here direct for a second. If you're growing in business, and what we do as entrepreneurs is we invest in ourselves, right? So we're going to the seminars, we're reading the books, we're getting the mentorship, we're making the moves to become the best version of ourselves, and our spouse is going to make a decision whether they want to go there or not. And 99% of the times, I hate saying it, your spouse married you for where you were at the time, and when you're going to the next level, they get resentment, they get jealousy, because the responsibility of us going to the next level, it bears on them too. Now they've got to carry themselves different. Now they've got more money. Now they've got more responsibility. And most of the time, it's the person closest to you that tries to pull you back. Especially for men. We start getting up business, we start making more money, and we're doing all this for our family, we're doing all this for our wife, and then she telling you, oh, you need to stay home. Oh, why do you have to post on social media about your success? Oh, now you're a different person now that you have money. I am a different person because I'm trying to be better. And I see men go through this, and you have to understand this early in the game. She may not want to go where you want to go. She may not want to level up. And it's the same for ladies. I'm just speaking to the men. She may not want to level up at the rate that you are. You have two choices. You have the choice to let her stay at that level and love her on that level. But she may not have that reciprocal effect for you, or you're going to have to let her go. And it's unfortunate. I see a lot. The number one cause of divorce is success in my world. A guy starts making a whole bunch of money, or a lady starts making a whole bunch of money, and the spouse is like, oh, now you think you're better than me, that you got more money. Oh, now that you think that you're this, and it becomes this frustration point. And then guess what? All the success that they got to give half of it away to the person that they don't like the most now all of a sudden. But there is a solution to this.
Prenup.
Prenup. Yeah, no, I have a prenup.
Yeah.
But there is a solution to this. The solution to this is to know if you do lose this one don't work out, and as you level up, your wife, your husband, they leveled off, know what you want before you jump into another one. I see so many people make the same mistake as me. It's like, oh, here's another person I like, I vibe with, the sex is good, we should probably get married. We seem to get along pretty good. That's not what it's about. Because we're going to change over the years. Catastrophic things are going to happen to us: car accidents, death of family members,
spirituality,
dismemberments, like any jobs coming and going, money coming and going, friends coming and going. Like, things are going to change. You have to find somebody who matches your core values. And if you find somebody who matches your core values are something that we value in other people anyway, not just in ourselves. But if you have those mutual values, that's how you can move together ahead. But if your wife is unhappy or your husband is unhappy now, more success is probably going to make them more unhappy, just being honest. You think money can solve that problem, but if you've not kept your word, if you've not been straight with your spouse, if you've stepped out when you're poor, they're going to be super worried that you're going to step out now that you got money. These are the things that you have to understand when it comes to relationships, and it's tough, you know. I'm a master of divorce. I'm an expert. Most people have never been through 3 divorces in their life. You know, it's sad. It sucks. I had to go through all of that. But that mastery allowed me, if I was going to model a marriage right now, if I was going to say whose marriage would I model off of, it'd be my own. Every Wednesday night, me and the wife, date night, like clockwork. And it's not date like she's putting her diamonds on and we're going to the Met Gala. I mean, we go have like 5 o'clock dinner at Chili's or something. You know, it's just time for us to be together. And we do. We go from like 5 to 8 o'clock every Wednesday night, just us, no kids, no talking about work, just having a good time hanging out. I don't drink, but the wife drinks wine, so you know we just be funny, having a good time together. And
how long have you been sober?
I never really
alcohol.
Yeah, I don't really drink that much anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I technically have a little app. I haven't had a drink in 45 days, but I might have drank
here and there.
It wasn't a big deal. But I realized at 44 years old, if I'm going to be the greatest version of myself, useless calories aren't going to do me any good because I don't get drunk. And typically I don't get drunk. So if I have just 2 drinks, like, I don't feel the effects of it. And now I just put a massive amount of useless calories in my body that's only going to make me fat and bloated. So I'm just like, hey, I don't need it. You know, I'd rather have carrot cake dessert and actually get
cream cheese frosting.
Dude, and get the calories from that, and then get the calories from, you know, some kind of mixed drink.
No, I love that. Now, also, I want to touch base on the fact with Apex, you have some of the highest level entrepreneurs I've ever seen. I just got a glimpse of it. But you're talking 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, people who've sold their company for hundreds of millions of dollars who are part of it. It's an elite group of people who help one another, uplift one another. Can you talk about some of the common denominators you've seen from, you know, entrepreneurs doing $1 million, 10 million, 100 million? Like, what's the difference in terms of how they think, how they operate? Because you probably have had a great ticket to history in a sense, because you've gotten to see hundreds of entrepreneurs, how they think, how they operate, questions they ask, how they find partnerships, how they solve problems. So for entrepreneurs watching, men or women around the world at any age, what advice do you have about what it takes to get to that 7, 8, 9-figure level? Well,
the funny thing is, entrepreneurship is a lifelong personal development program with a pay plan attached to it. And the better you are in every area, the better everything else will. The better you become a business person, the better your business becomes. The better you become a family person, the better family you'll become, right? And it's also very difficult, obviously. But here's what happens to most people. And this sounds crazy, but I've seen it more than anything else. Somebody starts making, we'll say nowadays, $250,000 a year, and their ego gets big. They in their circle that they exist in, they think they're the big dick all of a sudden, right? And because they're friends from the old neighborhood, they all make 50, 60 grand a year. Now they're making 250, and they think they've got everything under control.
Right.
You know, they're just the king of the world. If you don't, and it could be $250,000, $500,000, whatever. If you don't get your ego and thinking under control at that level, it will cap you from getting to the next level. So level one in the six figures is the ego gets in the way because you think, oh, you're the big dog, because most people don't make this kind of money. So you start comparing yourself to a lot of people you're around, and you think you got it all figured out. And they say you don't want to be the richest person in the room because you need to be put in check. You need your thermostat adjusted to where you can always go to the next level. But the next level, when you get to million, what happens there, the reason why most people don't go to 6 to 7 because of their ego. Most people don't go to 7 to 8 because of their comfortability. They think, man, you know, I got $1 million. I got a whole, I don't want to lose anything. I don't want to risk anything. I'm a little, you know, I just want to, you know, kind of sit on this egg and let it hatch and manage things that way. And it keeps them from growing because they get comfortable. They get a little bit of a scarcity mindset and they get comfortable. And that's hard to overcome because I don't care who you are or what internet marketer you hear from. If you're making $1 million or more a year, it's a lot of money. Like year one, you can spend $1 million, right? Let's say you go buy and you never get it in cash. First of all, we got to take $1 million. That's about $50,000 a month cash. If you think about it, it's $88,000 a month spread out, $50,000 a month if you take taxes out of that. Okay, so we're talking $600,000 for the year, and you go and you buy a Lamborghini for $200,000
or 7 cars.
Or 7 cars. That's over time, though. But you go buy a Lamborghini for $200,000. Well, now you're at $400,000. You go buy a house, and it costs you 5 or 10 grand a month in today's mortgages, right? Then you go and you spend it on the clothes, or you buy a Rolex, or whatever the case may be. It goes pretty quick, you know. But year two, you already own the house. You already own the Lamborghini. You already got the Rolex. So now you got extra cash. Year three, now you got extra cash. So it's hard for them to get out of that comfort zone because once they went out and bought their dream car and they went and bought their dream house, what else do they really got to push for? Right? Their needs are met. But what happens is that level, to get to the next level, is you have to keep stretching yourself. That's the thing, is not get comfortable, right? First, drop your ego. Second is not get comfortable, because it's easy to get comfortable. So in America, and again, this sounds very low, but in America, the 0.1% of Americans make $500,000 or more a year. That's how small of amount of people that make $500,000 a year. And it's like 0.00001 that make it past 10 million a year. Like, it's a very tiny percentage. And most people get stuck at that 7 figures just because they don't have a reason to push for more.
Right. Yeah.
But that's why it's important to become charitable. Hire a bunch of people. You know, take on debt, things that push you to the next level. The guys that I have watched go from 8 to 9 figures, it's been all about hiring.
A players, who, not how. Yeah.
Yep. It's all about the right, as they say on the energy bus, the right seat on the bus, having the right people in place. And here's how they think, right? The 6-figure and 7-figure guy, and even some of the early 8-figure people, they think, oh, I'm going to hire Omar here, and I'm going to coach him up and make him great. The people that are going from 8 to 9 figures, they say, I'm going to hire Omar here because he's the greatest at what he does, and he's going to coach us and be great.
Yep, he's going to tell us what to do. Yeah.
So with that's part of that ego thing again, is you're the leader, you got to tell people what to do.
Yes.
But when you got the right money, now it takes getting the money right, because Omar might want $5 million a year to come in and tell us what to do over here, right? So I got to get my bread up first before. So when I start, I got to do the most with C players, and then as I get rolling, I got to do the most with B players. When I get the money, I got to get the A players, and the A players with the education and the background and the experience, those are the guys that take you to 9 figures and beyond.
I love that. And even to touch base on that is Tony Robbins talks about resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. So quick stories.
I agree.
Because sometimes you might not have the cash, you need the talent, so you got to get creative, whether it's rev share or equity or whatever it is. Because a lot of people could hear that and not take action on what you just said, because they go, oh, okay, I need to get money first before I hire. Not realizing, for example, in my situation, when I started the show and my production company, I didn't have a lot of capital, but I knew I had to find A players, so I got the best guy and I offered him a piece of the pie, which incentivized him. And I didn't have any really money at that time, but it was worthwhile for him, and he ended up making more as a partner, and I did, than if I would have paid him in the first place. Right. So that's just an example of like how to apply what Ryan's saying at any level, whether you have the capital or you got to get creative with rev share or, you know, being strategic, but it's about being creative. yesterday we interviewed Ben Doran, who's the family who founded Vans, and he was talking about how the fact that they were in cash crunches early on with the shoes, and he said that they had to like switch manufacturing, so they got a warehouse, but it was hard to get the warehouse and the shipping to a different store because Vans wanted to have vertical integration where they could have thicker margins by having their own Vans stores, so they didn't sell through other stores first. So what they did is the accountant said, it won't work, and they were on the brink of bankruptcy. And he said that what they ended up doing was basically subdividing the warehouse and turning that into one of the first stores. So then they sold directly from there. So they took out any of the shipping and logistics. They didn't have to worry about any of that. They sold it there. But they had all these executives, but nobody thought of that idea. So it's just creatively figuring out solutions and being stubborn enough to like be on it. So I love that you bring that up. Can you talk a little bit too about? I want to zoom in on this because one of the things that I've been obsessed with and fascinated by is companies that are in the hundreds of millions, right? People who exit. And I know you have quite a few people in your mastermind, and I know you introed me to one of them. Can you talk about like...
Two of them are on that list.
Yeah, two of them. Can you talk about like just the scale or how they operate in particular, just to get a zoomed in approach on guys at the 100 million, multi-100 million exit level, how they're thinking, how they're expanding, what are they doing with capital, what are they, just at like high levels like that, because audiences don't really get to hear it.
So I spoke with one of those guys this morning.
Yeah.
And we'll save the audience, but you'll know who I'm talking about when I tell you the story. So I spoke with him this morning, and I was sending him a deal. I was like, hey, who do you have in Tampa? I want to send your people a lead. And he's like, send it to me, I'll deal with it for you. He's got his company's everywhere, basically.
How much did he sell for? Give or take?
100, but this is roughly 150 million. Okay, and he sold for a good chunk of his company so he still has some ownership, and they're rolling that up. This is what we were talking about. They're rolling that up into to resell again, right? And that 40% that he had left is now worth more than the 60% he sold on the front end. So he was telling me, he says, I am headed to New York for 2 weeks. So I'll get it handled. And I was like, what are you doing in New York for 2 weeks? And he said, I have between, I can't remember exact number, it was 30 or 60 of these private equity meetings, okay? And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of pitches. So he's going around and pitching, let's call it 60 different private equity firms over the course of 2 weeks. Going in, pitch deck, talking to them, quick 15-minute interview, they're out, right? And so that's his job. It's not he's from the roofing industry, so his job's not to go do roofing. His job's to sell this company to someone else. And he's already done it once. They've got a proven point. And so the next guy, and you'll know this guy too, he sold his company for high 8 figures, almost 9 figures. And he's taken that, and he's same thing. He sold 40% of his company. He still has 60%. He took the money that he got. And this is how these guys think. See, the guys at 7 and 8 figures, they're thinking, oh, if I go get more customers, I'll make more money. These guys are thinking, I'll just go buy my competition, put them under my portfolio, lay off who I've got to lay off over there, increase their profit margins, and keep rolling down the street.
And so higher leverage actions,
So they don't, and the regular person, regular business owners out there chasing one customer, these guys are just taking a whole portfolio of them one at a time because they've got the checks to be able to do that. And so these guys are both out there buying companies, putting them into their deal, promising these guys roll up money, and then pitching private equity companies. That's what they're spending their time on. So their thinking is, how can I get, we were just discussing this. Their thinking is, how can I get big chunks of money, because small chunks of money don't excite me anymore. When I was flipping homes and making $2,500 a home, dude, I was ecstatic. That was big money. But after a while, I started making 10 grand a home. That was even better. Then I started, making 50 grand from this, and then starting selling ranches, making 6 and 7 figures a deal. And it's like, oh, I don't want to flip a home for $2,500 anymore. So it's the same thing. Oh, I don't want to go get a client that needs a $50,000 roof. I want to go buy a roofing company that needs $50,000 worth of roofs every minute. Right, and so they're thinking on that way, because after a while those smaller numbers get boring, and you get more confident. It's like, oh, I did this with 100 million, I can do it with $1 billion. I did this with 10 million, I can do it with 100. I did this with 100, I can do it with $1 billion. I did it with $1 billion, I can do it with $1 trillion if you're Elon Musk. So
one of my clients, I know, is a mutual friend, Bobby Castro, talked about that, how he sold his company in like chunks.
Great example.
Yeah, and he was talking about that.
He's one of my best friends. Great example.
It's amazing, man, at that level. Now,
I learned a lot of this stuff I'm talking from Bobby. Bobby's been my mentor for 2.5 years, still to this day.
I love Bobby and Sophia, and they're awesome friends and clients, and dude, great people. And we've actually had them on the show. That interview blew up. But one of the last questions I want to ask before I wrap up here is, when you look back on the landscape of business then, online, and business now, how do you see the landscape changing for people, particularly in the online space, who are trying to get leads, trying to grow their business online? What are the biggest shifts you're seeing in 2023, 2024, where the puck is going, as Wayne Gretzky says, versus where it is? How do you see that shift from your perspective?
Well, the audience on some level is getting smarter. The consumer is more educated. They know what's a gimmick. They know and they're very skeptical. If you run ads of any kind these days on social media, somebody's bound to put scam, right? You could be selling peanut butter, and they're like, "This peanut butter is a scam," right?
Yeah.
There's like, they're very hesitant. They're very judgy, and they're educated because they have been scammed a lot. They have a lot of people that signed them up for recurring revenue things, and the peanut butter club for $10 a month that they can't ever seem to cancel. They've been burned on things like that so many times that they're getting smarter. So they're also getting smarter in the sense of 4 years ago, you could go buy 1 million followers on Instagram and everybody assumed you were famous. Now they know. They go look and they're like, if you have 300 likes and 3 comments and 1 million followers, that's BS, right? Like, that's a fake account, or you bought fake stuff. So the consumer's getting a lot more intelligent. So what we've got to do as online business specifically is we just got to be real. Ed Milet comes out in 2017 and he says, I exited this company for $400 million. That's his public numbers that he mentions, right? And the next thing you know, every son of a bitch on the internet's got a $400 million company. Did you notice that phenomenon too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we actually did one of the interviews with Ed about
I've seen it.
It blew up.
You did Ed and Grant at the same time as well, right?
We did both. Yeah, which was surreal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I helped Ed get his check mark with Instagram by writing an article on Forbes about him. I mean, it takes more than that, obviously, but I was a part of that process. That's how I got to meet him. And he said he's in Maine right now. He's like, if I was in town, I'd take you out to dinner. Very nice guy. He's always been great to me. And so, but he shows up and now everybody's this 9-figure person because, he changed the thermostat of the industry, but most of them are lying. I believe if you are out there, if you're a coach, consultant, or just a business owner in general, it doesn't even matter, but specifically in our world, just be honest. If you're making 10 grand a month, be happy and teach people how to make 10 grand a month, because there's a lot more people that aren't making 10 grand a month.
Right.
That's a realistic number than if you're making up saying, let's say you make 10 grand a month, but you're telling people you make 500 grand a month. You don't realize that you're missing business because most people can't see themselves making 500 grand a month anyway.
Right.
But they can see themselves making 10 grand, which is exactly who you need to help, because we need to help at the level we're able to help on.
Yeah.
When I started, I only helped the loan officers, only with sales, because that's all I knew.
Yeah.
And then as I got better, I started teaching other people. I'd try it with somebody. Let's see if Omar's business works. Okay, this works. We'll add this to our portfolio. And if it didn't, it didn't. But I never was the person to over exaggerate things like we see this day in the industry. But these days it's pretty easy. If I'm an entrepreneur and I see your ad on Instagram and you're like, I did $100 million this year, I can reverse engineer that pretty quick. I can go to Forbes and see what articles you've talked about, this, that, and the other. I can see your followers. I can see your customer count, and kind of get an idea if you're, not exactly, but kind of get an idea if it's all smoke and fire. And the consumers are looking into that because they're getting bombarded by ads promising them that, from investment stuff to coaching consulting stuff to widgets to e-com stuff to Amazon stores. I mean, they're getting bombarded with stuff, so they're having to make a decision, which is causing them to be more educated. So if we want to continue to stand out and stay ahead of this stuff, we have to be more real and more authentic, because that's what the customer is ultimately looking for. Is like, who can I trust? Who's the real deal?
Yeah, scaling with integrity.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I also do want to ask about spirituality and God. And the role, I know early on it didn't play a major role, but the role that plays in your life now and how that's affected you.
When I went to prison the first time, I was not religious at all, had not spent any time in churches other than maybe Easter or something when I was a kid. And I watched all these criminals go to church in prison, and all they were ever praying for was parole. I didn't think they really cared about God, so I saw a bunch of hypocrites, and I was like, I don't want to be like that. And I got out, and the first wife of mine was a stripper, and she drugged me to this church, believe it or not. back when she was just a stripper, and she's like, your life is insane. You got to come to this church.
Yeah.
I went to this church in 2003, and I met this man, Keith Kraft, with the Elevate Life Church. We were in an elementary school back then, and whatever he said from the stage that day just changed my life. Like, even now I get emotional about it, but it was just whatever. I don't even know what he said that day, but I was like, wow, I thought these preacher guys were pussies. Mm-hmm. This guy's the real deal. This is somebody that I can look up to, that I want to be like. Mm-hmm. And I continued to go to this church, and I ended up getting divorced and getting divorced again and going through prison, but that church was always there. Pastor Keith was always there. Mm-hmm. And I went through a period when I divorced Jackson's mom, where I was like, man, maybe God just don't like me. Mm-hmm. You know, I found God, then went to federal prison. I'm like, dude, how are you going to throw me in here? I had it all together, you know, mm-hmm. like what in the world? Then, you know, I get out, still in love with God, go back to church, get divorced again. Dude, what are you doing? He was trying to get me with Amy, but like, you know, God's plan's better than mine.
Yeah, especially when we zoom out, we see it, but when you're in it, you're like, oh, why is this happening?
Looking back, it all makes sense. Yeah. You know, it's what I had to go through. But I went through a period about 2014 to 2017 where I was like, you know, maybe this God thing's not my gig after all. Mm-hmm. And in 2018, I was in St. Louis, Missouri with Andy Frisella, sitting at a hotel bar at the Four Seasons, I think it was. And Vaughn Kohler was sitting next to him. And I had listened to Vaughn on Andy's podcast, but Vaughn told me he was a preacher. Mm-hmm. Wait, Andy, you cuss more than I do, and you're just here hanging out with this preacher guy, and he's just like cool with us, sitting here talking, shooting the shit, and dropping F-bombs and everything, and Vaughn's like, yeah, your heart's in the right place. I don't care what you... Maybe I should go back and talk to my pastor again. So I went back just as myself, not this buttoned-up Ned Flanders person that I thought I had to be to go to church, right? Yeah. And the pastor was so happy to see me back, and I was like, man... And I'm telling you, from that moment in 2018, when I stepped back in church and got aligned back with God, my finances, my family, everything is turbocharged. Mm-hmm. You know, and I realize now, God, I'm not an easily persuaded person. Mm-hmm. You know, if I want tacos today for lunch, you're going to have a hard time convincing me of hamburgers, because once my mind's made up, it's made up. Mm-hmm. God understands that. So he's had to slap me to go to prison to get out of marriages I shouldn't have been in. He's had to slap me to get out of the mortgage business and go into the business that I'm supposed to be in. Mm-hmm. He's never been able to just go, hey, man, don't do that. It's always, why'd you do that? Right? Yeah. And so now looking back, I understand all of these things. But, man, when I got back to him, in 2018, it felt metaphorically like the prodigal son, like he's back. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I've been waiting for you, Stewman. Yeah. And like I said, I get a little emotional now, but it's been very freeing. And to see my kids go to church, and my wife goes to church, and she hangs out with friends from church and stuff, it's been a big influence. You know, my name's signed inside the building there. I'm the number 3 or 4 giver at this point in my church.
That's beautiful.
So, and we live in a rich area with a lot, and we have a huge, so that's like saying something, you know. Yeah. But the reason why I take pride in that is because I know inside that church we're changing a lot of lives like mine, and I want to make sure it's financially fueled to be able to do that, because there's other Ryans that need that place.
I love that, man. That's beautiful. All right, and then last question before we wrap up. For people around the world watching, men, women, at any age, maybe someone who's gone in and out of the system, whatever it is, people trying to make their life work, trying to figure it out, but don't know what that next step is. They don't have the environment, but they're trying to, you know, maybe think of the younger version of Ryan who's trying to get ahead, get that opportunity, get in the right circle, get unstuck, find the vehicle, right? In that crunch, looking for answers, right? The type of people that watch this podcast. What would your best advice to them be to kind of get out of their head and start in the direction of making their life work, making their dreams a reality?
Follow my lead. I mapped it out for you. I've done it. My whole journey from 2008 to 2023 is on YouTube, on my Ryan Stewman YouTube channel. Like, go back. You watching me sell cars. You watching me sell mortgages. You're watching my life in real time. Go back you're where I was in 2008, fresh out of prison. Go to YouTube, Ryan Stewman channel, fresh out of prison, 2008. What was I doing? Follow those videos. The playbook is right there. I've showed you every move, told you every thought process, everything that I had to do, dark times, good times, it's all right there. Mm-hmm. You know, and so Somebody's like, well, what does it look like for somebody to come out of prison and get their life together and build? Which is my YouTube channel. I didn't know that's what we were building at the time, but that's what it's turned into all this time. 2,300 videos.
Wow. Yeah.
It's literally 2,300 steps that we've taken showing what's possible.
I love that, man. And before we wrap up, we play a little game called First Things First.
All right.
So the way the game works is I'm going to rifle off a quick word or phrase, and then you just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Think of it like a relation game.
Cool.
The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right. First word, money.
Freedom.
Marriage.
Love.
Limiting beliefs.
Resistance.
Prison.
Lack of freedom. Incarceration.
Worst piece of advice you've ever been given.
The worst piece of advice that I have ever been given was don't start that business. People go bankrupt that start businesses. And that was by my parents. Go get a job, right?
Best piece of business advice you've ever been given.
Invest in yourself.
The biggest limiting belief that you had to overcome to get to where you're at today.
Biggest limiting belief was that a certain amount was enough, to be honest with you. The biggest limiting belief is we get to a level, like I said, at 7 figures and we think we've got enough. That is a limiting belief. That's not an abundant belief. That's a limiting belief that what I have now is enough to last me for the future. That's a limiting belief, and that was a big struggle for me at 6 figures, at 7 figures. It still is now because I know what I'm capable of contributing as I get more, and I have to fight that limiting belief all the time. Like when I was making $250,000 a year, 300 grand a year as a loan officer, dude, that was all I'll ever need. I could live the rest of my life this way. That's a limiting belief because it was limiting what I'm capable of doing now, which we do that some days.
Yeah. The biggest misconception of being a multimillionaire from the perspective of the young Ryan. Like the young Ryan, looking at where you live today, the businesses you have, the people you impact, the marriage you're in, what would that young Ryan look at the Ryan Stewman today and say?
If we were to go back in time and I was to talk to him, I would have a hard time convincing Ryan that things are the way they are now. Okay, so check this out. So the other day, I go watch this movie called They Live. It's 35 years old. It's a great movie. I went to the movie theater and watched it with my wife on date night. It's got Rowdy Piper in it and stuff. Great movie, right? But would you believe this was made in LA, this movie, okay? So the movie's taking place in LA. In the 80s, the homeless people in LA, this movie was made in 85. The homeless people in LA, the poor people in LA were construction workers. So this guy, Roddy Piper, worked construction during the day, lived in a tent, a homeless encampment in the nighttime. In this movie, in the nighttime in 1985 in LA. If you are a construction worker now, you are one of the best paid people in this country 100%. Because nobody's doing that. Back then, that was everybody's skill. So there was an abundance of labor and skill in that industry, so they didn't pay for shit for it. Now, if you're a construction person, you're making 20, 30, 50, $100 an hour minimum, right? And so I would have to go back and say all these skills that you're learning that don't pay shit right now are going to be some of the most valuable tools that you'll be able to use in the future. The fact that you can swing a hammer, the fact that you know construction, if all else fails, those things will be some of the most valuable tools that you'll use in the future. My old self would have never believed that. If I had to start all over again, now I understand I make a difference in the world and I lead people and that's the responsibility God's given me to do that. But going back, and I started as an electrician when I was a teenager. Man, if I'd have kept that job, dude, we'd be wiring skyscrapers by now. You know, I'd be doing $50, $100 million jobs all the time. It would just be another level. But I would have never figured that at that age.
The most common trait of successful entrepreneurs?
Consistency. Consistent, because you have to do some of them, you have to do certain things all the time. And no matter what business you're in. And some of them may be consistent in one thing and inconsistent as hell in a bunch of other, but that one thing's the thing that matters. Whatever that entrepreneur has been consistent at is that one thing that takes off. If they're a number cruncher and they're consistent in the number cruncher, that's how they blow up. They're a salesman and they're consistent in the sales, that's how they blow up. They're a marketer and they're consistent in their marketing message, that's how they blow up. So that consistency has always been the one trait that I've noticed. And a lot of them, that consistency is in the gym. It's in their marriage. It's in their business. There's traits of that consistency in other areas, not just in business.
I love that. I've heard this concept too, where people say people don't have business problems. They have personal problems that reflect in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that.
So anytime you have a business problem, instead of trying to just start there, start with yourself, start with getting good sleep, start with your health, start with the home, the relationship, and you'll notice like little by little how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Absolutely.
All right, and then the last one is when Ryan Stewman is dead, gone, and nothing but a pile of dust, what do you hope that your legacy in your life was an example of to people around the world?
That I'm like Napoleon Hill or Dale Carnegie, that for generations people read my books, and it's fundamental biblical principles I teach anyway, with you know, modern day spins on them, so they're going to be good for the foreseeable future. But I want people to look back, like when I die, first of all, I want everybody at my funeral, like we throwing a party. Right? And I want everybody to get behind the mic all day long and just tell stories. This one time I was with Stewman and this happened. Dude, that would be like the greatest thing to ever see, because there's so many lives that in so many fun times that I've had. But when I'm gone, I want them to say, this guy created a movement that's gone on to change billions of lives and continues to live on forever. So that's what I'm building.
I love that, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time, bro.
Yes, sir.
And where can people find you if they want to follow you more and connect with you, the Apex group, follow you on social media?
I'm Instagram at Hardcore Closer and Facebook Real Ryan Stewman. Just find, both of them have blue checks, so don't fall for the other stuff. I ain't selling Bitcoin or nothing like these damn scamming bots do. So just follow me in those two places and you can figure out the rest from there.
Yep, and we'll put the links in the description down below, guys. Make sure to check out Ryan, follow his stuff. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Leave some comments down below. Who knows? We might just do a round 2. Leave your questions for Ryan. We'll make sure to answer them. Till next time, live strong, live with passion, and go make those dreams a reality by taking action. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.